All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Vintage Super League now semifinalist Eric Froelich. Since you beat Randy in close to the minimum number of games possible.
Yeah, I did your dirty work for you.
So we're gonna go ahead and actually, before we get to that, explain kind of how the bracket works. So here we saw you playing against Randy at the third seed versus the fourth seed. The winner of you two is going to face me next week. And then the winner of that is going to face Chris Pakula on Sunday, the 26th. So it's an actual weekend show. And we're playing now. All the matches left this year or this season, are best 3 out of 5 matches. So with 3 different decks, as we just saw.
Three different dredge decks.
That is one of the options, yes.
Sweet.
So,
You better pack a lot of Ravenous cages. You're going to need them.
well, I actually, if you look at Dredge's history, I really won't. I'll just need like one of each, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I did your dirty work for you. We agreed last 2 weeks ago that the tiebreaker would be decided by whoever finished higher in the Pro Tour. I edged you out, but I'll take care of business
what
this
do
time. And
I don't know. I don't know if I finished higher on the Pro Tour than anyone actually. So I didn't check the final standings, but I'm drawing live. So you ended up playing the Doomsday Mirror, which is not something you probably expected.
uh, I certainly thought Randy would play Doomsday as one of his decks. It's something he has been playing at local vintage tournaments, according to social media. So I definitely thought that would be on the radar. Obviously, we know the Academy deck would be high up there. Oath deck for sure. Maybe Oath combo deck, and Merfolk being extremely high up there.
Yeah. So of those decks Randy played, yeah, 3 of those 5 decks you mentioned, and Oath and Oath combo are kind of similar anyway. And then the
Not
Doomsday,
really. I would have thought Oath combo would be a little bit more likely than the
then
show
the
and tell
actual
Oath.
just
But
show and tell Oath.
yeah, I didn't have any Graph Digger's Cages or anything in my sideboard, but I did have 3 Containment Priests. So
And then after the Doomsday match, which was actually just kind of absurd to watch you guys just drawing Doomsdays and Gushes every turn and kind of answering each other's threats. You ended up being 1 card ahead in game one, which is what ended up being the difference. You kind of
yeah,
just
I
locked him out with shops in match two.
I waited in match one a turn on the Yawgmoth's Will to cast Arrest to make sure the coast was clear, and so he was just dead next
It
turn.
was.
Well, yeah, I saw the direct result. So then he ripped on me, so then I had to rip back on him. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting game one. Game two, there was a reasonable chance I had him dead again on like turn two, but he killed me turn two, and I killed him turn two. It's just like, yeah, Doomsday is interesting deck. Kind of crazy.
Every time someone plays Doomsday, they it seems like the deck's insane, which makes me think there's enough people who have played it this far that maybe the deck's just insane.
Yeah, it's basically just the blue control decks that we both really like to play and that other people in the league really like to play, with the ability to just kill you out of nowhere. Or fast played a fast spawn combo deck in the playoffs last year where, Doomsday is very capable of doing very similar things. So it's definitely a powerful deck. This was the first game I've ever played with it in my life. So, everyone's talking about how it was so complicated. So I was definitely a little bit timid coming in to try to come up with a Doomsday pile, as I've never done that before, but worked out. And then I got to go back to Old Faithful shops.
Yeah.
Ooh, shops, you've treated me well. I've had a lot of Mishra's workshops in my hands, and that's been nice. Although strangely, I never have Moxes or Lotuses, despite being
And
having
and
six.
you did play Lotus to make it more likely that you would have it.
Yeah, I figure because one of the cards I most want to draw is Black Lotus, I decided to include it in my deck. But I still won't draw it. So, I guess I drew it in the matchup that was more important. So yeah, my draws were good. I had game one was tough. He
Yeah.
basically had me on the ropes if he had anything. He was able to go turn one Mox expedition map threatening Academy with 2 cards in hand. So he may have had nothing if he had any gas. Like, it was a tough turn one for me to decide to go with Tangle Wire and Chalice on zero. I could have just played a Thorn. Um, I don't know. That was an interesting game. Losing the roll was huge. Obviously, you would have had to scoop turn one if I won the roll. And game
Yes.
very
Had you won the roll, you would have just won. But his hand at that point was Mind's Desire and Tezzeret. So by playing the Tangle Wire, you made it so he couldn't really cast anything for multiple turns because the
it's two.
Academy only tapped for 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if Mind's Desire was a Mox, I was dead on turn one. No, he could just use Tezzeret to go get Belcher and set me up to be dead on turn two.
Yeah.
And Mind's Desire is obviously just a dead card in the matchup, effectively, unless you're killing turn one, in which case, whatever. Could have been anything.
Exactly.
All right, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
it was similar. I mean,
yep.
being on the draw is a little bit tougher. They can certainly kill you on turn one or two before you can do much. Um, the Lodestone Golems weren't necessarily doing super a lot. Well, most of his spells are artifacts, but I tried to make the best with the hands I had. And, thanks, honey. Appreciate that. And yeah, I wanted to move my record to 9-0 in decks that aren't Dredge, and managed to do that, and so that's good.
Yeah, and you between Chalice Zero Wasteland, you made it pretty unlikely that he could cast any other primary mana sources because Academy would be one of the few cards that actually taps for mana, and that would still not tap for quite enough. His hand, of course, had another Grim Monolith, so if you had not Wastelanded there, then he would have won.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can have there that are just going to kill me. There's a lot of things that make a mana, so I mean, it could have just been Expedition Map, get a cat now, would have been a little short. That would have been one short, two
Yeah.
short, one short, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I thought that line was a little bit easier, at least, to wasteland the land, because if he has it, I'm going to die anyway. It doesn't really matter what I do. And if he doesn't, that'll buy me some time. And so that worked out. And the third matchup's tough. Mentor is
Yeah.
not well positioned against Oath, but luckily he didn't have Force of Wills, because,
Yeah, he didn't draw any Force of Wills.
yeah. So,
Notion Thief did an impressive job of shutting down Gristlebrand. As Tom and I were talking through it, I said, Randy's never drawn cards off this Gristlebrand, and I even said it was only a 7/7 lifelink flyer, which honestly is not going to win every game of Vintage. I mean, you managed to stop it from hitting ever, but without the ability, it doesn't actually do that much.
I mean, my army at the time was a 1/1, piece of whatever, and a 3/1 creature that, yeah, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but luckily I also was able to hit Dak Fade in. I was able to ice it to buy a turn, draw a card, and once the Fade in Notion Thief combo was in play, and I had so many delve spells in my deck that I was able to find, and I kind of bricked hard. Like I drew my best possible card on the turn I was going to dig an Ancestral, and the Ancestral just kind of found nothing except for Treasure Cruise, which kind of found nothing, and kind of gave him a window to find his way out of it, despite my draw being great. But yeah, he couldn't kill me on that turn, and once I got another turn, it was going to end. Like I get to see almost every card in my deck time walk, and it's just
Yeah.
gets stupider and stupider. Hey, honey, you're back.
Whereas game two, you resolved a turn one Jace, which
Oh, yeah, that was
outraced an Oath pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean he couldn't even put anything into play. Like if he could draw seven, it would have probably made it a more interesting game.
Yeah.
Um,
And so, and with that, you're on to face me next week. We're gonna have to brew up some decks here.
yeah, you want to just play five mirrors?
Yeah, we could do that. And so we'll be back next week. The winner of our match will, of course, face Chris Pakula in the finals, where he gets to watch our next set of decks and look at this set of decks and try to figure out exactly what he thinks we'll be playing in the last round. Because there's a lot of metagaming that can go on. Vintage has a lot of viable decks. If you took, you know, all the like tier one to tier two decks, all the decks that could very very easily win a tournament, that list would be very long right now. And a lot of those decks have, you know, substantially different good and bad matchups. So you have to kind of figure out how you can get them to overlap in ways that are good for you.
I see the chat asking if I considered putting an alternate line with the Notion Thief show and tell. I did not have another Underground Sea in my deck, so I could not hardcast Notion Thief. If I put a land into play, all I could do was cast Dig through time. So
Yeah, that makes
yeah, I
sense.
considered it, but I couldn't do it, so I didn't do
I
it.
actually did mention that while it was going on that you might only have one underground sea in your deck because you're playing four colors.
I didn't know that until I opened my deck list in the middle of the turn. I couldn't
Yeah.
like I built the deck weeks ago and haven't looked at it since. Never played it before, so yeah, I did not have more underground seas. The only black card in the deck was Notion Thief. There isn't even there's no Yawgmoth's Will. There's no tutors. I mean, it's just Notion Thief being gas. Notion Thief with three Dak fade ins. It was kind of a delight.
Yeah, Notion Thief is pretty sweet. So that'll conclude our very, very short, I guess, semifinals matchup or quarterfinals matchup rather. And we'll be back next Tuesday with the finals to follow on the following Sunday.